A colossal wave driven by the fury of the storm surged toward the city with unstoppable force, slamming into buildings, submerging entire streets, and leaving destruction in its wake. The raging waters showed no mercy as they swept away everything in their path. Hundreds of cars tossed around like weightless toys, trees uprooted, and debris carried off into the chaotic flood. The once bustling city was now a scene of devastation, with towering waves continuing to crash, reshaping the landscape in a matter of moments. The raging flood came with terrible force. The water rose rapidly, submerging everything in the raging sea. The raging flood swept away rocks, trash, and debris, sweeping away heavy cars like small toys. Even the sturdy houses could not withstand it. Each wall collapsed. The roofs drifted in the whirlpool. Trees were uprooted, drifting with the raging water, crashing into everything in their path, making the scene even more tragic. The ferocious flood swept through, sweeping away everything in its path. Even the once solid houses could not withstand the brutal force of the water. Walls cracked and collapsed. Roofs were washed away, leaving behind scattered debris. Many houses were pushed and crushed by the whirlpool, piling up into piles of rubble floating in the vast sea of water. Broken wood, bricks, stones, and furniture floated and shattered in the raging flood. The peaceful scene of the houses next to each other was gone. Only desolation, ruins, and the fierce roar of nature remained. The raging flood brought with it rolling mud, submerging everything in the murky and ferocious water. Heavy cars, which had rolled steadily on the streets, were now submerged by the floodwaters, buried under thick layers of mud. The rushing water weighed down on each car, pressing them onto each other, denting and breaking like toys crushed by the fury of nature. Broken glass and twisted metal floated on the water, creating a desolate and haunting scene. Gone were the busy streets, replaced by a muddy battlefield, where the force of nature had crushed everything in an instant. From far out at sea, a giant wave rolled in, roaring and crashing towards the shore with terrifying force. In the blink of an eye, a wall of water crashed in, engulfing the beach and rushing deep into the land, sweeping away everything in its path. From afar, the roar of the flood sounded like a wild beast charging forward, carrying rolling mud and unstoppable destructive power. In the blink of an eye, the turbid water rushed into the empty land, engulfing everything in the fury of nature. Trees were uprooted, corrugated iron sheets, wood and trash were swept away by the rapid flow, swirling in the turbid water. Cars were overturned, drifting like lifeless toys, while patches of land were eroded, broken and disappeared in the ferocious water. There was no trace of life left, only a vast, cold water area, where just a few minutes ago there was solid ground. The flood passed, leaving behind devastation, ruins, and the haunting image of the brutal power of nature. The waves came crashing down, sweeping away everything in their path, submerging the land in a sea of raging water. Amid the raging currents, desperate people clung to the pillars, clinging to them as the only life buoys in the ocean's fury. Unbelievable that the flood was so big that people stood and filmed it. Each powerful wave rushes forward at a breathtaking speed, crashing relentlessly against everything in its path, leaving behind only chaos and destruction. The roads became battlefields of mud, rubble, and debris. The sky was dark, the wind howled, and the water continued to rise, washing away the hard work and lives of people, leaving behind scenes of devastation and pain that would never be forgotten. Amidst the relentless storm, heavy rain poured down in torrents while fierce winds howled through the shattered landscape, toppling trees and sending debris flying. On the cracked and battered roads, cars lay crushed and overturned, their metal frames twisted and shattered under the sheer force of nature's fury. The once busy streets were now a scene of devastation, submerged in water and littered with wreckage, as the storm continued its merciless onslaught. After the heavy rains, the floodwater rose. The river crossed the river in the fields, creating a bloody but surprising scene. Under the boiling water, schools of fish frantically jumped from the water surface. The fierce wind howled through the streets, carrying with it a cold drizzle that soaked everything in its path. With relentless force, it swept away goods from market stalls, sending them tumbling through the air, while unsuspecting people struggled to stand their ground. Some were dragged along the slippery streets, desperately clinging to anything they could grasp as the storm's fury showed no mercy, turning the once bustling area into a scene of chaos and destruction.